Hey there, guys. Welcome to the Boru Podcast.
Hey.
My name is Brian, and this is Craig.
Hi. That's Brian. What you doing?
So, I don't know. What should we talk about?
I think we should talk about, I don't know,
Was it
depression, anxiety, mental health, yeah. I think everybody suffers from it. I think a lot of people are kind of embarrassed to get help for it. And so I know I've battled with it on and off most of my life.
Yeah, I feel the same way. You know, I've been dealing with it for quite a while. And it just seems like, that I've noticed is that when I feel in like a little funk, like feeling a little depressed, I can't seem to stop it.
Now, that's not like the Isley Brothers kind of funk. That's like bad funk. Okay.
So I just can't stop, so I'll end up listening to sad music or think of something sad or like, and I just can't seem to stop it. So, depression is a really serious problem, into our, I guess, society. And, yeah.
Well, I've when I get into it, I don't know. I get angry and then I get real withdrawn, and I've always had a self-esteem issue. You could probably hard to tell from the way that I talk and the way I carry myself. I always smile even though I'm not really happy inside. Mm-hmm. But I know everybody's gonna laugh at this, but when I get sad, and Brian hates it, but I like to put on the Carpenters. Karen Carpenter's voice always soothes me for some reason, but everybody has their own little scapegoats. Some people, do the rock thing, hit themselves with rubber bands. Some people go out on long walks. Some people, I don't know, go out and drink and get arrested, get in fights. I don't know. It's like it's all a part of the same deal, I guess. It's learning how to deal with it.
I dealt with people with mental health, not mental health, but with disability, all that kind of stuff, and it's hard work.
Yeah. Well, my grandmother on my father's side, she was a little wacko, and then my dad was a psychopath. So I kind of had a weird growing up thing, and I won't really get into that. But so it led to a lot of withdrawing within myself, and very shy and very afraid to speak, and everything else. Plus, I stuttered, and on top of that, being from the Isle of Misfits,
I don't know.
never quite fit in at that when I was growing up in the 70s. So
have you always stuttered? When you were a kid too?
What?
You stuttered?
It was worse when I was a kid because I was in that environment. There's a lot of violence and just stuff going on. But how I stopped stuttering was my high school had a radio station, and I've always been into being music, and so I did the DJ and stuff, and I used to record myself talking, and I discovered that I talked really fast, so I learned to slow down my speech, especially around S's and T's and R's, and so a lot of that helped, and that also was an interesting thing about depression. When you're in the radio booth, you're all by yourself, so you're kind of free to talk without being you forget that people are actually listening to you. So it was kind of an interesting thing, but anyway, I don't mean to deal with.
Have you worked with people with depression or anything like that?
Well, I worked in bars and restaurants with chefs, and a lot of them have mental problems,
Anger issues.
and a lot of the old chefs that I worked with were military or ex-Navy cooks, so and so. And they'd throw knives in pots, and a lot of homophobia, a lot of degrading women conversations, calling you stupid,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So,
You-
and plus,
You just get that everywhere, really. In every job.
yeah, plus being gay, I was always afraid somebody was going to find out. It was kind of a funny
Yeah,
thing
well.
but anyway.
Well, that's their problem. It's
But
not yours.
I think gay or straight though, society puts a lot of pressure on you to fit into a mold, and not everybody fits into that mold. Going back to my favorite Christmas thing, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the Isle of Misfits. I always wanted to go to the Isle of Misfits and party. Because they were cool.
Which animal are you?
None of your business. What happens at the Isle of Misfits stays at the Isle of Misfits. Yeah, I've always had a problem with I grew up in the 70s, as I said before, and in the 60s when everybody was bone thin, and I wasn't fat, I was stocky, but my mother always made fun of me for being stocky, and so it stuck.
She used to call you fat, right?
Yeah, she used to call me fat, and things like that, and being a sensitive person. In LA in my 20s, somebody drove by and called me a fat ass out the window, which is just kids being kids, but it kind of withdrew me into a depression, and I ended up being housebound for a couple of years. I would only go out shopping at night to get groceries, because in LA things are 24 hours and things like that, and I got out of it and went to culinary school, and then got out of a bad relationship, which led to another real hardcore depression, and then got into doing things that I probably that you do when you're depressed. You go out and drink or do whatever you do.
I mean, how do you cope with your depression?
Like I said, I listen to music.
Just the music, yeah.
But the problem I have is I have PTSD, which Brian has also. I go back and listen to a lot of the songs that I grew up, and I find that I sometimes find myself crying. It's not because of the music; it's the association of where I was when those songs came out, and it's a constant struggle. But
yeah, it seems like you get depressed when you hear the Carpenters, and
no, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. She has a very soothing voice. In fact, when I get sick or I have the flu or something, I like to put it on with the headphones. But then I've always been weird. My first summer in Europe, I went to almost all the countries except for up north, England and Ireland. But I did weird things. I wanted to play a song on a certain beach and do this, and then I decided every city or country that I went, I was going to order sweet and sour pork, and it was different in every place. And it's just I've always been different. My mind works differently than everybody else. My thought process, and a lot of times people don't understand my sense of humor. Plus, I have a little bit of obsessive compulsive, and being a chef, that can be very difficult too, because I like things in a certain order, like the mayonnaise has to go in the bread, the lettuce in a certain order, and then if people don't do that, then I get upset and things like that. But anyway,
yeah, it's strange how depression can lead on to you because of when I was working for the mentally challenged.
yeah.
I was working for them for 3 years, and then my mother, she just basically says, you're in the wrong field of work,
Yeah.
because you're actually caring about you're a caring person, but you're caring. You're not even caring for yourself because you're not taking care of yourself.
Right.
But you're taking care of other people, and you're not even concerned about yourself. And that's kind of like where it led to, and I had to end up leaving that job. It's because I was really getting myself depressed and stuff like that. And I was missing my doses and stuff like that, and it was just like a horrible time.
Well, I know what you mean, because I discovered we're working in the bars. I did bartending, and I did DJ work, and plus going to the bars. That's what you did when you were gay in the 70s and 80s, and you either moved to L.A., San Francisco, or New York or Miami. So I went to L.A., and I discovered after 10 or so years of working and being in that scene that bars suck the soul out of you. People are negative in the bars. That's why they go to drink, and when you drink, you get depressed, and it's when you're working in there, you pick up on that environment, and it can really bring you down too. And that's why like Brian says, you really need to focus on what your job is too, because a lot of things can affect your mood swing. And if you think about it, why do people drink? Because, well, they want to have a good time at first, but then when they start drinking, they get depressed, and
they get depressed, or they get very, very angry.
Right, angry, and it's then you end up throwing them out, and people getting into fights, and calling you an asshole or whatever, because you know. So it's like, it's a very negative situation. So.
You're basically saying things that you don't really mean when you're sober.
Yeah.
And it's not a very good thing.
Well, no, it's not that you're saying things you don't mean. When you've been drinking, you're saying the things that you want to say.
Yeah.
That are real.
Kind of releases it.
It's not that they're making it up.
The true colors comes out.
Right, exactly. And a lot of people use the excuse, "Oh, I was so drunk, I don't remember." Fuck that. You remember exactly what you said and what you did. I've drank a lot, and I've never blacked out. Unless somebody slipped something in my drink, So anyways, excuse my language, but fuck that.
Yeah.
One thing I love about living in Ireland, they have a great attitude. Everything is fuck all or fuck off, and it's like, it just sums it up. It's like it ain't no big thing if you ain't got that static cling. It just ain't that big a deal.
I don't think the Irish I don't know if they would know that saying.
No, probably not.
It's an American thing.
It's an American commercial, yeah, with the fabric softener. No, saran wrap, yeah, or plastic wrap, yeah, cling wrap here, but I don't know. I fell back into it this summer, and then Brian did. I was in the hospital for a long time ago, for most of the year, which explains my pale skin, Brian got upset and was alone. He doesn't like to be.
I don't like to be alone at all.
Or and
only like short times. That's about it. I don't like to. With the length of stay when you were in the hospitals. And you just kind of feel lonely, and when you don't have friends, you get more depressed and stuff like that. And you just try to bring myself out of it.
Yeah.
And it's. I couldn't get out of it. I just had to go out in the back, to get some fresh air or something like that. Or I basically just walked down the hospital to see you, and just to get out of that depression mode.
Yeah, I remember. I was there.
So.
Well, the scary part was to me is that I had a couple scary incidents. I don't know if you guys realize I was going into respiratory failure a lot since February, and they did all kinds of tests from cat scratch fever to everything else, and then they kept saying it wasn't the heart, and I kept telling them it was. So finally I went to Galway, and they put 3 stents in my heart, and then I came back, and then I started. I can't remember, why did I go back in the second time. I was having trouble with something.
You're having trouble breathing.
Breathing, swelling or something. Anyway, so I ended up going to Letterkenny gave up, so they sent me to the bigger hospital in Galway, and they.
That's a 4.5 drive. Well,
yeah.
3.5 drive if you're going by car. If you're going by bus, it's almost 6 hours.
Well, I have kidney issues also, and they kept pumping me full of diet to do all these tests, and I kept telling them that my kidneys are going to fail, and they had me on water pills. So when I got to Galway, they expected it, but I went septic and I started to go into kidney failure again, and I got down to the point where I was lucky I didn't have to go on an emergency dialysis, which is my third one, so I pulled that back up. But when the point was, it's like I've almost died like several times, and this last one hit me hard, and I was, I pulled out, and after 3 weeks they determined what the problem was. It was just medication and blah blah balance. But when I got out, I was really depressed, and then my heart rate dropped, which makes sense because it was running high before because of the problem. So now it's down to 60, which is borderline. So I was concerned about that. Went to the doctor on Tuesday, and everything's fine. So I pulled out of it. But sometimes I worry about getting sick and dying because I don't know Brian would have problems with it. Of course, he'd probably already have a date lined up and ready to move on, but
I have a problem with death, and I don't really like to talk about it, because it gets myself, more depressed and everything, stuff like that, and but sometimes I just keep thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, and it's just, get myself more depressed, and and it's just So there are times that I have to just say, you just got to snap out of it, and and just think of happy thoughts, and that's my release of depression is try to think of happy thoughts,
Shiny happy people. Anyway, but so anyway. We the neighbor Patty knocked on the window one day and stuck a kitten through the window, and so I took it into Brian, and that so if
that cheered me up.
If something happens to me, if I go back in the hospital, at least Brian's got a cute little cuddly kitten, which right now is like a toddler and is into everything. We're waiting to get her fixed. We've got about another month. She should mellow down after that.
Because I'm
about to give her kitty downers. I don't know if you ever saw Saturday Night Live, but they usually have a joke about doggy uppers and kitty downers. But anyway, I would never do that. But anyway, so anyway, life is good for the moment. It may change tomorrow. I'm hopefully getting my cast off on Tuesday, but I don't know.
Because I know that you're pretty much. Depressed and, of course, housebound, barely being able to move.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. About 6 weeks ago, my feet got tangled up in the shorts at 2 in the morning going to the bathroom, and I fell back and twisted my ankle and banged my knee either on the dresser or on the floor and busted my kneecap, so I'm in a full leg cast. So that's creating tension. But, all relationships and all aspects of life always have tensions. It's how you deal with them and how you go out, and whether it's scream or go for a walk or diffuse the situation, because a lot of times you're not angry at the other person, it's you're frustrated with your situation. And that's a very important thing to realize, because you know what, folks, I've had 20 years of intense therapy. I go every week, except for when I came over here, and I'll probably go the rest of my life. So believe me, it works.
I think that you weren't you like going out of control or something, when you that's seeking the therapy while we were in Ireland so far until now.
Well, no, I wasn't going out of control. I was just I had no one to talk to, because everybody has different aspects of therapy. Some people go to be taught, like a teacher, to be instructions. Remember, do this, do that, do that. I go just to talk to somebody, kind of like a priest, but I don't. Not my thing. You go and talk about life and what's going on and what Brian did or the cat did or whatever, or the bus driver did, or somebody pissed me off, and then it's like I paid someone to listen to my problems, but in my case, the insurance pays for it. But you understand what I'm saying? It's like it gets it off my chest, so it doesn't build up, and that's my problem. Because when I blow, I blow. Yes, it's like the ears come out and it's steam, but it's over as soon as I do it. So, yeah. But anyway, I this is a lot of personal stuff, and I hope it's not too personal for a lot of people. But that's one thing.
The way I see it is that I'm like, there's no perfect person in this world, you know, and everybody gets depressed, every once in a while, even if they don't have a deep depression the way I do, or if the way you do. I'm like, we all have them like in different levels.
Yeah.
Of depression or any mental health or stuff like that,
Well, and the main thing is to a lot of people are embarrassed or afraid to go to the therapist because it means that they've got they're psycho, and that has nothing to do with it. You need to go in. It's good to talk to people, and that brings up another interesting problem. Getting mental illness health is very difficult in the States, and is also very, very difficult here because of the budget controls and everything else. And since nobody wants to think about it or address it, nobody wants to budget it. So it's kind of like when what was it, HIV came out, nobody wanted to put budget. So there's a lot of charity things that came out, but it's very hard to get good care. Plus, a lot of times, if you get put on disability because of your mental illness, society looks at you, and I watch Judge Judy say it every day. Why can't you get off your ass and work? I can work, you can work. It's like and that's not always the case. So. And you shouldn't be afraid of people judging you because and if you can't do something, you can't do it. And that's all the way it is. And I paid my taxes, and you paid your taxes, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about that.
Have you ever been through family counseling?
No, because no one else in my family wants to do it because they're all afraid to do it, or they're in denial. And that's the whole basic problem. And
I was, I did that when I was like 14, and I was extremely stubborn, and I'll be sitting in the chair, at the counseling. My legs are far apart. My hands were in the air, and I was like, "Why am I doing here?" I don't really want to be here at all. And it's supposed to be like a family. Counseling, and the only one person that never went was my father. And because he thought that there was nothing wrong with us, or he never really thought that there was anything wrong with him.
Well, see, if I did family counseling, I'd be tempted to jump out and say fame, because that's just my sense of humor. I just, it's just anyway. That's why I don't do group things, and the reason I don't like group counseling is because I go to talk, and I do not want to be interrupted, and I go to talk. And in group counseling, it's very hard to get anything in because by the time it's gotten around the circle, the subject has completely changed, and it's like, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's life, and that's the way it is. Although living in Ireland has helped because it's a more laid back.
It's very laid back here.
I mean,
it took us a year and a half to be able to get into the counseling.
Well, no, it's not just that. It's just it's like when you go to the grocery store at the checkout, nobody rushes you. It's like everybody's like, slow down. It'll get done when it gets done, and sometimes that's frustrating in the beginning because in America everything is, I want it now, hot now, and it's like it's not like that over here. It's a little slower pace. which is sometimes can be irritating too. But in the long run, it's a lot less pressure on you than it is that I find in living in the States. In the States, when I was younger, it wasn't as much me, go. And unfortunately, it has become that, unfortunately. And so, the current political scene and everything else, everybody's so mad at they don't know why they're mad.
Everybody's mad at the world.
They're just mad, and if somebody
Right.
if somebody farted during the national anthem, you got protests on TV, and it's just craziness. And don't get me wrong, they've got issues here too, and the political thing is also different too.
I cannot stand politics.
But
I never talk about it.
But politics is always going to be there.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
But people have gotten too carried away with it, and it's like and being over here, people always ask me, "What do you think of your man Trump?" And I always say, "Well, I don't want to talk about Donald Duck. That's the reason why I left the U.S." So that sums it up right there. So anyway. Do you want to talk about pizza or recipes, or should we just go wrap it up?
I guess we'll just wrap it up
Okay.
for now. And it's been 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So we could still talk.
Yeah.
Or we just end it right now.
Well,
we could. There's going to be other topics.
Yeah.
In our episodes. So. Yeah.
We should have saved that cheesecake for tonight because because the Golden Girls, all their problems they sat around the table.
You know what?
And had cheesecake.
After I ate that cheesecake, I felt really depressed.
Did you? Oh, the sugar probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I had an upper, and then that only lasted for a short
sugar
time.
drops you, yeah.
And the sugar drops, and
Yeah.
I was depressed, so I went straight to bed.
Yeah.
So.
Unfortunately, right now, since I'm in the wheelchair, when he goes to bed, I go to bed. So,
But then
I stay
sometimes
up.
you stay up. What was it? A couple of nights ago, you stayed up all night.
Well, that's another problem with my mental problems. Because of my past, I don't like silence. I don't like dead air, and I have trouble sleeping at night because at night that was when all the craziness went on, and it goes back to that PTSD. Plus, I have at night I have really bad nightmares, and I see things that I'm not really sure that I'm asleep or I'm awake, and that kind of stuff, borderline, and it is very hard for me. So I have, when I was younger, I used to drink quad shot of espresso 10 times a day, all day, and be up 2 or 3 days, and then I'd crash. But that's just the way.
But you were always a night owl, right?
Well, yeah, but there was a reason for that. There was a disco song that came out in the '80s that said the freaks come out at night. Well, I was a freak, so they always can come out at night. So but then during the day I couldn't sleep either. So I'd go out and wander. I didn't like I didn't like sitting in a room by myself either. So it was I'm very confusing sometimes. But like I said, anyway, that's another issue. And I've also went through the thing of binge eating because of depression. Eating things. Eating the chips and the nuts and the big tray of macaroni and cheese. And what?
After you eat the chips, or over in Ireland they call them crisps.
Yeah.
And once you binge, do you ever feel depressed afterwards?
No, because I don't do it over here like I used to.
But even like back in the States, did you feel depressed while you were eating them or after you were eating them?
Well, yeah, because it fed into the whole thing of the body issue and body shaming of of being that I felt like I was fat. A lot of times I wasn't fat. It was just that I felt I was fat, and so I would go out and binge. But I wouldn't throw it up. But I was depressed, so I'd eat, and cause and effect. So in other words, I would create the situation by overeating, so I would get fat. And so it's an endless loop. It doesn't always make sense, but it's an eating disorder. Some people body shaming. Well, it's like that show, 600 Pound Life. Look at that prime example. Then you look at Karen Carpenter, and she did the actually opposite. She would eat it and then puke it up or give herself diarrhea or poison, so she would go right through her system. I mean, eating disorder. There's thousands of different styles of body shaming and eating disorders, and what people do. Some people are addicted to plastic surgery. It's a whole nother ball of wax. But then we're getting off topic, and that's another issue.
Right. It's just when that happens, it just feels like people are so unhappy with themselves.
No, I don't think it's that people start off being unhappy with themselves. I think society forces them, and television keeps jamming it down your throat, that because you're not that cool piece, that person on the beach, weighing 90 pounds, coming out in a swimsuit, drinking a Diet Coke, you just don't fit into that advertising issue. And unfortunately, we are taught that from a very early age. Plus, we're also taught, go to McDonald's, go to Burger King, and what do grandparents do to take their children to McDonald's? So we're encouraged to eat fat food. So it's an endless cycle. So
it is, yeah.
It's terribly confusing, and it's like when I was in the hospital. I see people doing it that are diabetic, and so this one guy had 60 pounds of water on him. They're trying to get him off of him, and his family kept bringing in water and cookies and biscuits and crisp and all that kind of stuff. And finally, they had to tell him, it's like, you got to stop this. You're killing him with kindness. And I find that true too. People bring me chocolates when I'd rather have them bring me fruit or an apple, berry, whatever, bananas and stuff like that. So.
I must be really depressed, when you were in the hospital, that the only person that you could be able to rely on was me. And my family back in Derry, they would come every once in a while. But if it wasn't for me, you'd be there all alone. And I felt that I would need to go down there every single day, and I try, show up myself, and because I know it's not that very pleasant to go in a hospital, and people shouldn't be in there.
When you go in the hospital, it's different in the States. You either have one bed or you share a bed. Over here, the largest ward I was in was 16 beds, and the smallest was 6. So you're never truly alone. Brian misses that part. You're not with people that you know, and in Ireland. People just walk up and start talking to you and say, hi, how you doing, how you feeling today, and I'm like, who are you? And they say, well, I'm your doctor. Well, what kind of doctor are you? I have 50 doctors. And it's like, in Ireland, doctors are terrible about walking up and saying, hi, so-and-so, I'm your urologist, Dr. So-and-so, I'm here to do this. So that's one thing that's very frustrating too, is that and you talk to them, and you start to ask them a question, and they just turn around and walk off. So it's different over here. But anyway, so that's frustrating also. And being a foreigner in a foreign country, I got a lot of why are you getting hospital care as an American in our country, and and how are we paying for this? And it's like, no, I have insurance, and then blah blah blah, and then and some people, there's a lot of problems with people saying Yank Go Home, which is a derogatory term, as most people know. and people are nasty. A lot of times, people
they can be nasty.
People were more concerned about how I was getting treatment in Ireland versus what was actually wrong with me, and so that was a little irritating. And I don't.
It's really none of their business anyway.
Yeah, but and I understand it. But but my immigration status and whether or not I have insurance is frankly none of their business because I bring my disability into Ireland, so I'm not taking money out of Ireland. I'm bringing it into Ireland. So, but anyway, that's not the point. So there was a lot of stuff going on. It was a very frustrating time and a very frustrating situation, and so that led to a lot of. Sleep problems again, and Brian was freaking out, and plus there was a lot of stuff going on in the hospital. But anyway, yeah, it was a very stressful time. And when you're in the hospital, it's kind of like that song, the Hotel California. You kind of check in, but you can't check out. It's like it's like you're kind of stuck till the doctor signs the thing, and if he's forgotten about you and gone to Mexico for 2 months, there you sit. I'm joking, but it's almost that bad, but it's not. You know what I mean? Well, we were going to let you out and go 2 days ago, but the doctor's going to went somewhere, so you're going to have to stay. So So anyway. At least I can always see humor in it versus Brian kind of sees the other angle. The glass is almost empty. My glass is always almost overflowing. But then when reality catches up with me, that's when I get depressed, and that's when I get angry, and that's when I get upset. But it's just a matter of pulling yourself out of it. I've always been a very positive person. No matter what happened to me, I'm always smiling. See? So anyway. Well.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. For our next podcast, which is probably most likely going to be every Saturday around 5:00, unless otherwise, just. Me personally, I will be on Twitch during the week, just doing my own thing. But it won't be a podcast, but our podcasts are coming up on every Saturday, as you can see up at the logo up here. And
well, and if you have ideas about topics, I was thinking about we could put on Jaws and prove whether we actually remember everything that's said all the way through the movie.
Yeah, guys, if you have any topics that you want to let us know, go to the email us at the Boru Podcast at gmail.com. Or go on to our Facebook page and let us know what you guys think, any topics you would like to discuss or anything like that, or even if you want to come up onto Skype, audio, and that would be great too, and we would have a three-way, not that kind of a three-way, but like a three-way talking, that sort of thing.
No.
Yeah, so you guys take care and enjoy yourselves and enjoy the rest of the week.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Cheers.